what I'm going to share with you today are really a few things that we've learned along the way in terms of working in finance and trying to build a better financial system. And there are a lot of myths about money and finance, and a lot of those we don't even know we hold ourselves. And so hopefully I'm going to get a little bit of engagement from you to help us understand some of these myths. But I just want to start by asking, does anyone have any money they can show me at the moment?
Yes.
Okay, if you've got any money, show me any money that you have on you.
Got some in my bag.
I want to see some money.
Why?
I will explain. Okay, we have Exhibit A, money. Great. What if I said to you that that is not money, okay? That is anything but money. So you can't, that is not the answer to what is money. I'm just asking, if you would turn to the person next to you, how would you answer the question? If someone said to you, what is money, and you can't say that, what would you say? And if you maybe just take a minute to talk to the person next to you, clue here, there is no right answer, okay? So don't worry about that, but just how would you answer that question? Okay, go. Okay, so could I ask maybe for just a couple of brave volunteers to share what they said? David, you're not allowed. You're the one person who's not allowed to volunteer here, okay? Could I just ask a couple of brave volunteers to share what they said, how they would explain what money is? There's a brave one.
Unbrave.
Unbrave one.
I'm not brave at all.
Okay. Okay, we have a brave one, and then another brave one, and then we'll have the unbrave one. Brave one.
Could you speak really loudly? Could you ask her to speak loudly?
Okay.
It's a green disease.
It's a disease. A green disease.
I said printed paper, that we have a lot of faith in, but at the end of the day, it's printed paper.
Printed paper with faith, okay, or a disease. Okay. Your answer to the question.
I'm sorry I'm late, so I'm sorry I'm saying something that was already covered. But
Don't worry, I'm late.
Put on the spot here saying, what do you think money is? So in the 30 seconds I could come up with only this, that I think money is like what it is now. It's more of a symbol. It's not like the olden days where actually, a bar of gold at least had some kind of objective value, whereas money literally says pay the bearer of this note, blah, 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 pounds or dollars or whatever. So it's more of a symbol of like, I have this value and I'll give you this, and we're exchanging this value between ourselves. So it's become very symbolic. And as someone mentioned last time, we all know that even the electronic thing where you transfer money to someone, it's not literally money going, it's just, my account is getting debited and someone else's account is getting credited. So ultimately it's even worse than the symbolism of the note. I think it's gone up another level in terms of cyber.
Okay, you wanted to say something.
I just wanted to say that there's no value behind it, like it's not backed by anything.
And finally?
Well, we were talking about the importance of trust in the current system. So if you give me a piece of paper, then I trust that I can give that piece of paper to someone else. Might be a piece of paper, might be clams, might be whatever. But we both agreed that there's a certain amount of trust in the system that I can then use that piece of paper to spend on a real object. And then there's lots of different types of money. So there's like cash is one type. It's probably a small percentage of total money in the system. You were talking about banking deposits when the bank gives you a loan to buy a house. They create that as it's a debt for you and it's an asset for them, and that's just created on the digital ledger. So
Awesome. I love this group already. It's brilliant. Yeah, you're all absolutely right. And I can I just say I love that 3 women put up their hands to talk first. I've never had that happen in any group that I've talked to before about money. So I already love you in my heart. So we had, disease, we had faith, we had symbol, we had, does it have any value of its own? And then we had, it's nothing and it's something, effectively. And to my view, and there's no definitive answer on this, there's as many books or articles as you want to read about this. To my view, money is all of those things. It is ultimately It is a symbol of a human relationship, basically. One person trusts, another person feels a duty. So, you know, you promise to pay the bearer £5. I think the key bit there is promise, basically, and that's only as good as the trust or the faith that we have in each other. And in a way, that takes me to myth one, because for me, the biggest myth of all is that money is a thing, it's something we have outside of us. And obviously I was really mean by asking someone to show me money, because what you held up was a symbol of money, absolutely, you were right. But ultimately the thing that made that money were kind of the human relationships behind that. This is something that exists because of humans and that couldn't exist without human relationships. Which makes me wonder what on earth is going on with finance when we have a system that is fundamentally built out of human relationships and only exists to serve humans and things that we value. How can we feel like it's something we can't control? How can we feel like it's some sort of law of physics where you just have to obey the way it works? You can't say, no, that's wrong, because you can't say, no, gravity's wrong. You know, gravity is going to win that argument every time. So how come that's the same with finance? How have we let it get to this point? I think there's a number of reasons, and mainly it's a process of time and power, that what started as a network of human relationships to serve a purpose, you know, and you can look back through the history of money, there's some great resources on it. It is fundamentally about human relationships and promises. It evolved into a system so complex with power structures so concentrated that you look at it and you think that's impossible to shift. Now, I'm not here with a blueprint today to tell you how to shift that, and that's not what the lab does. We work to support people who are trying to shift it, but we recognize there's no one way to do that. But our fundamental belief is that you can change it, because if humans made it, they can change it. And I guess that for me is the biggest myth. The second myth is a bit more personal. It's about you and who you are. And this may or may not be familiar to you, but this is something we have all absorbed one way or another, is that we're the biggest banks in the world. But that's not really the point at the moment. The point is we have here a community of belief and action that is changing the financial system. And then finally, I'm going to get personal again. And this is, I think, probably the most destructive myth of all, which is that you can't do anything about any of this. And that's, again, is simply not true. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's not true. And the first thing you can do is find out if you're part of the problem. And this is really powerful and undervalued. You can find out if you've got money, savings anywhere, find out what that's doing. Ask your bank what they will and won't invest in. The chances are the person you ask will not know, and that's not a problem. The act of you asking them is in itself quite a radical thing to do, because they've got to ask someone else and they've got to ask someone else, and you might get fobbed off with a link to the responsibility policy. And that's fine. And then you ask them about it. And once they start hearing that people really care about this stuff, you start to have some power. And then, of course, the second thing is be part of the solution. All those sorts of organizations I've talked about, they either want your deposits or they could do with your time, or at least your voice. So find out, you know, what works in the sector you care about, or what's working in your local area. Talk about them. Move your money to them if you have money to move to them. See what they need from you. They are always short of at least attention, if not anything else. And then I guess the final thing, which I hope takes us on to David, is about using your voice. Okay, so this is very, very powerful. I'm not going to lie, I think we are missing one overarching campaign that could harness some of this in terms of ordinary people and help us really fight for the financial system we need. I wish I could be the one to provide it right now. We're not in that space and we don't have the resources to be, but I think it's needed. But there are some amazing organizations campaigning around finance. So Positive Money is one of them, and you'll hear from David next. Share Action, so using the power of people who own shares. You probably do if you have a pension, using that to advocate for change. 350, calling for organizations to divest from investments in fossil fuels. Jubilee Debt Campaign, New Economics Foundation calling for the cancellation of unfair loans. The Robin Hood Campaign calling for a tax on hyper-fast financial transactions that are only there to game the markets, not to do anything useful. All of these things you can lend your voice to. I wish I could make it easier for you. I'm working on it slowly, as are other organisations. But I would really encourage you, if any of what I've said tonight has resonated, to try smashing some of those myths for yourself. Just give it a go. I'm going to stop now, but humour me once more. I would really like to know how you feel about money now, because money for me is a really emotional thing. You probably hadn't guessed. I think we treat it as a really cold, abject thing. For me, it's a very powerful emotional thing. So just if you would mind again turning to your partner and just share with them right now how you feel about money, and then I might ask for a couple of people just to feedback. Okay, I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to draw you back to the front now because I've horrifically overrun. Sorry. I promised it wouldn't go over as well. I should have timed it. Would anyone be brave again and just share with the room maybe just one word about how you're feeling? Just shout it out. Potential. Great. Negative. Positive.
Yeah.
Daunted. Interesting. One more. Sorry? Sharing ideas. Excellent. Well, I hope that has helped you at least think a little more about money, and I hope you'll be able to share some ideas about it for the rest of tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.